Hey, folks, this is Brian Blessing. Hope you're enjoying the Hockey Betting Podcast. We have a couple chuckles, try to get you a lot of winners. If you like what you're hearing, hit the subscribe button, give us a review, give us a rating. Most importantly, enjoy the hockey and keep coming back to the Hockey Betting Podcast.
You're listening to the Hockey Betting Podcast. This is the Hockey Betting Preview for Wednesday, January 13th, 2021. And now, live from Las Vegas, the host of the Hockey Betting Podcast, Brian Blessing.
Well, like a boomerang or a bad penny, we're back. The Hockey Betting Podcast. Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. Cam Stewart, north of the border. He owns and runs all of Canada. He's an important guy. We've gotten people saying, where are you guys? Where have you been? People wanted us to come back. So we're back. It's the Hockey Betting Podcast. We love talking hockey. We're recording this opening day of the 56-game dash. The angles that are going to be in play are going to be astronomical. We're going to have some fun. And listen, it's the best sport to bet. The odds makers can only do so much. Without further ado, drum roll. Here he comes. Fasten your seatbelts. We don't have a drum roll. The production budget's still pretty weak for the Cam Stewart. Hey, buddy.
Hello, Brian. Yeah, it's been quite a crazy week. Went to go see the doctor, got in a car accident. But hey, hockey's back.
Dude, so in other words, don't rub you for luck.
No, exactly. But yeah, we'll see what happens out of the gate. You know, a lot of people are asking, Brian, like, what's going to happen in the first part of the season? I got to think, you know, maybe players come in a little bit rusty. The books have really thrown up some interesting numbers. You see some sixes across the boards, and I got to believe that, you know, holding and, you know, some guys are going to be out of shape. Special teams could be a big part of this thing, but you know what? We'll find some angles, but it should be a lot of fun. And we talked about some play-on teams too. Maybe those teams that didn't do well in the bubble, the lesser lights come out and really want to get things started, like a team like the Sabres or the Senators.
All right, we're going to dive into all this, but right out of the gate on the Hockey Betting Podcast, hey, we're thrilled to be back, but we got business to take care of, and it's business you'll want to take care of. Our Canadian listeners, listen, you're going to want to get in, and the ability to shop for numbers, go to our website, thehockeybettingpodcast.ca, thehockeybettingpodcast.ca. And we want to thank the online sports books that are there and the folks in Canada. You guys can get in there. There are sign-up promotions for you. We got numerous books that are there and available to you. And that ability to shop for numbers, Cam, sign up, subscribe, play along all year long with us, and we want to thank them for being on board with us, and you can see all the opportunities that exist for the players there. But it doesn't matter what sport you're betting, Cam, in this day and age of technology, with mobile apps, the ability to shop for numbers. I mean, if you can get plus 160 instead of plus 140, or you can lay 20 instead of laying 35, if you can get over 5.5 instead of over 6, believe me, over the course of time, it adds up. It makes a difference. I've always said it's every bit as important when you bet, and maybe in this instance, it's where you bet as much as who you bet.
You said it, buddy. That's like me, Brian, at the butcher shop. Always trying to make a deal, but you know what? Sometimes that's why you need a couple butchers. Sometimes they're in the right mood. Sometimes they're not. Do I get this lamb shank at this price? That beef of the eye roast looks pretty good. You know what? You got to shop around. You're right. You don't want to go to a dollar store to get meat. You got to go to the right places, and I'll tell you, you couldn't be more correct, and that's the thing. Shop around. Think about it. Even if you're a $100 player, $10 over time. Think about the whole season, Brian. It's thousands and thousands. So that's the thing. You know, I'm pretty tight. You know me. I like to spend money. I'll spend more money on the blackjack table, but I'll try to save a few bucks at the grocery store. And that's what you want to do with the lines, right? Like, that's the thing. You get 10, 15 cents of value over the whole season. It's going to make a huge difference. Huge.
All right. Go to the hockeybettingpodcast.ca and you'll see all the opportunities that exist for you. And the funny thing is, nothing's changed. Here we come in. I'm all excited about the beginning of hockey. And after listening to Cam talk, all I can think about now is a Euro sandwich.
Yeah, that sounds great.
A gyro.
Yeah, you give me some. Hey, we had some winners. We get some gyros. Let's party. Let's go.
All right. Hey, listen, bud, let's just dive into some of the angles. Let's give you an overview. And here's some of the things that I think bear very close watching. And right out of the gate, I think there are going to be money-making opportunities. Throughout the course of the year, I'm going to go Gatling gun here. You're playing back-to-back games all the time. The level of intensity is going to ratchet up. Back-to-back goalies are going to be critical. Coaches are going to make adjustments because you're playing the same team back-to-back nights. The team that loses the first game is going to be a moneymaker in game two because they can't afford losing streaks. And we've seen in the NFL market, the football team wins a game, numbers inflated. They're going to go backwards. Team wins the first game, they're going to bump their number up when the dog is actually the side to be on because they can't afford to lose two in a row. And the team that wins the first game can play the backup. The team that lost the first game is going to play their starter back. I mean, travel. There's travel involved, but these guys got to go to the hotel room, hockey rink, hotel room, hockey rink. They're going to be playing Russian roulette with 5 bullets at the end of a long road trip. I mean, the angles are through the roof. Are different. There will be many things that remain the same, but there's so many new things, Cam, that we're going to have to take into account. And hopefully knowing what we know, we'll be ahead of the curve on the adjustments the odds makers ultimately are going to make out of the gate.
No, you couldn't be more right, Brian. And that's the thing. Like, you got to be on top of this stuff. Like before with the backup goaltenders, the back-to-backs, and all those other things that are happening. You said it too. In the COVID era, like, yeah, long road trips. These are things that we definitely, like, that's the thing. You got to put in the effort this time. It's not just you assume these things are going to happen or this guy's going to play. Like, these are big differences too. And some teams back up to starter, you know what I mean? It's night and day with the goaltending too. So we'll figure it out. We're going to find some angles. And even in that North Division, Brian, that's the thing. Like, it's a whole country and these teams hate each other to begin with. So, you know what I mean? Say things get ugly, more penalties, this and that. Like, it's just something to keep our eye on because it's going to be interesting this year. We're going to say, but I love the way hockey's done it. I love the All-North Division. I don't even care about the conferences. You bet divisions and you bet Stanley Cup futures. That's the way it goes. And I got to be honest with you, I like this. I hope it stays. I think it's fantastic.
I think it's, well, I don't like the fact that you're not seeing all the other teams play your team. But in this one-off, what's going to be unbelievable, you see, you can't play at this insane level for 82 games and survive. But this is a 56-game sprint, and the thing that will happen, Cam, which is going to be awesome, we're all sitting here drooling, oh, yeah, can't wait, Calgary and Edmonton, Battle of Alberta. Like, we drool for that during the season. Rivalries are formed on the ice, and what's going to happen is God only knows what's the one that's going to crop up to go, my God, you better not miss the next game. It could be something as stupid as Arizona and San Jose. You know, somebody runs Erik Karlsson and feeds him an elbow into the glass in the first game. The next game's going to be a bloodbath. And they're going to, I mean, the intensities, they're like playoff games. This is going to be great. There's going to be all these new angst and bad blood and rivalries that forge from this.
No, I agree. And I don't know what's going to happen in this North Division. These guys are going to kill each other on a good day, Brian. They're going to see each other time and time. Like guys like Kachuk, it's going to be like Cujo, just foaming at the mouth with rabies, wanting to get his hands on some turkey, right? And just wring his neck. It's going to be wild. And you said it, not a full season, but we got under 60 games. These guys are going to be pounding each other. I love the way it's set up. Like, it's interesting. I know a lot of people that weren't even like hockey betting fans, but now they're talking like everyone's jacked up about the NHL. And I think in COVID, this sport did a great job in the bubble last time, and I think they'll do even a better job this time. Hopefully everybody stays safe and we don't have to cancel any games, and man, we're going to have a lot of fun.
Well, and just specific to the Canadian listeners, again, go to the hockeybettingpodcast.ca and see what all the options that are out there for you to get involved with these games. But I mean, you can speak to this. You're right there on the front lines. All right, we're starting with Montreal and Toronto, monster rival, and then they're playing back-to-back. That's where it starts. But a team like the Leafs can't. Now, there's no fans, but when they go to Vancouver and a third of the building are Leafs fans, you know, the Canucks get a stone in their shoe. And believe me, all the other teams in Canada kind of get an inferiority complex that the Leafs get all this attention. Well, but they're not playing them twice now. They're playing them 8 times. I mean, the Leafs, to me, are the team that has believe me, they've got a target on their back up there.
I agree. And the betting market still loves Toronto. And I'm going to be honest with you. Montreal's they made some great moves on the offseason. Toronto, they still have they still have bad defense, and they still have goaltending issues on their back end. They're a problem, and their forwards don't play the complete game. Sure, they might score 5 or 6 goals, but they're going to give up a lot of goals. And you're going to see totals with Leaf games, Brian, 6.5. But you know what? I would tend to take overs in their games because there's not going to be a lot of defense, and they're going to have to score 4 or 5 to win on a nightly basis. I don't think the Montreal Canadiens are getting enough respect from the betting market. I think they're fantastic. They picked up Jake Allen as a backup goalie to Carey Price. All the guys, Gallagher, if he stays healthy, he's a nut job. He'll go out there and you love to play with him. You hate to play against him.
How about Gallagher? Gallagher, Perry, and the dude from Columbus. Those guys are going to be
Anderson.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I love the moves Montreal made. And, like, right out of the gate, first night, I mean, this game could be 3-3 after 1. You know, the thing is, now the goalies could be ahead of the shooters because I got to throw this out there, Cam. There's a buyer beware mentality you got to employ here coming in. But I just go back to the World Juniors. I'm watching. I'm all stoked. I want to watch the Sabres guys. I want to watch Cousins and Quinn and the Johnson kid and Peterka, and I'm focused on them. And the Golden Knights guys I got to follow, Krebs. And I'm watching these guys like right out of the gate going, oh, okay. I mean, I'm just hoping for more. And then the second game hit, and a couple of them played way better. By the third and the fourth game, I'm like, whoa, there it is. Now I see what they were looking at. Individuals and the teams got so much better, and the quality of the hockey by the fourth game and on the end trip to the end of the road in the World Juniors, those kids hadn't played hockey since February. They were shaking the most unbelievable amount of rust off, and now we got 7 teams that didn't make the bubble. You got to watch and see who's actually playing pretty good here, because I think there'll be some teams that are really sloppy and bad out of the gate. And the problem is, Cam, you can't go 1-5 in this format. You may not ever come back over that hill.
No, it's a really good point, Brian. I'll tell you too, like, look at the NBA example. Like, all the nights, these basically me, you, and a drunk horse are like fielding teams right now. Like, you look at the Miami Heat, they're plus 14. They're covering against Philadelphia. All these other teams, it's like, where did we pick these guys up? You know, outside the Salvation Army, they're covering numbers. So I look at it that way and go, okay, so what teams didn't do well? What teams need to come out of the gate hot? The Sabres. The Senators aren't getting any respect. The Montreal Canadiens, I think, are a team that people need to look at. Like, it's the teams with pedigree that did really, really well and overachieved. Those are going to be the teams that I fade, kind of like the Dallas Stars. You know, like, they played really well last year. Can they do it again? I'm not so sure. So I think a lot of these clubs, Bri, you know, they're going to have to come out, and they understand it's a shortened season. We might not be as good, but if we get off to a hot start, maybe we can, maintain it and find a way to slip into the playoffs.
You're the sound effects guy. What does a drunk horse sound like? I've never heard of 2 horses burp.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're basically taking like I'm looking at these G League players going, how does this? And then next thing you know, they're losing by 2 when they're 14-point dogs. Like, is that going to happen in hockey? Like, are the Devils going to come out hot? Are the Senators going to come out? Like, the teams that didn't get to taste the bubble, fresher? There's a lot of different angles, right, Brian? We got to, hopefully
fresher, or they'll be hungry. And I'm hungry. We always get hungry when we do the show. All right, so I just think of the dynamics that are in play here. The one thing, don't lose sight of the fact too, the trade deadline this year, this is going to be wild, because don't forget, and we'll get to it when we get to that point of the season. Don't forget, Seattle is coming into the league.
Yep.
And teams are going to be dealing with the Kraken. And after the way so many of them got fleeced by the Golden Knights, they're going to go, here's my list, take a guy, lose my phone number. But what they're going to do is, when they sit there and go, I got 3 quality guys, and I know for sure Seattle's going to take one of these guys, they're going to trade the other 2 and to try to get something back. This trade deadline is going to be a circus act.
No, you're right, Brian. And that's the thing. I could tell you one thing, Seattle's not going to be getting the same type of players that Vegas did. I couldn't,
no.
like, that's ridiculous. Like, what kind of professional sports team? You're going to the Stanley Cup in a couple years in existence? Like, that's just, it's unheard of, like how well Vegas did. And you're right, they fleeced team. They got star players, guys, you know, who needed to prove themselves. It's just one of those situations. The Kraken, they're going to take years to get better. I would like to see them actually more like the Ottawa Senators, more like the Lightning when they came into the league, because what Vegas did is just absolutely dumb, and I don't think it's going to happen with Seattle. You're right, Brian. Lesson learned.
All right, let's go through each division, Gatling gun, and then we'll get into some games. We don't have to go bananas on all these teams. All right, let's start with the Central. I think Tampa Bay, Stanley Cup hangover in their sleep. They're one of the top four. By the way, top four make the playoffs. They play their way out of the division and into the semifinals. That's the format. I think, you know, Tampa Bay is going to be Tampa Bay, and they're going to be good, but they're going to be some big numbers. They're going to be out there some nights, Cam. And in this format, I think there are going to be nights when you say tonight's the night, somebody's going to get the best of the Lightning, but they're the class. I think Columbus is a nice team, dangerous when you get to the playoffs. You know, long regular season. The Blackhawks decimated by injuries. That was sickening for them. Preds have burned our money for far too long. Carolina is my pick to win the division. Red Wings got a lot of work to do. And if there's a team in there that I think regresses in the Central, I think Dallas regresses. I think they got a Tootsie Roll and lightning in a bottle with a backup goalie in the bubble. But I like Carolina to win this division.
Couldn't agree with you more. It's actually crazy. We're going to have some different picks, but I love Carolina. You're telling me the Carolina Hurricanes are 4-1 in comparison to Tampa Bay's plus 140. Tampa Bay without Kucherov, that's a huge loss. I know Cirelli and these other guys stepped up, but still, man, that's crazy. Carolina's very, very close too. And they had injuries in the playoffs too, and they lost a lot of guys, Brian. So I'm going to tell you, I agree with you. As for the Dallas Stars, good team, but doing it again, no, plus 490, can't do it. Columbus, you're right, they're gritty. And it's going to be interesting. Florida's a team that has disappointed us every year. I'm not even touching Nashville. Are they eventually going to call one of these kids up to be their goaltender? Goaltending has been an issue with the Florida Panthers since the inception of time. They haven't been able to find a guy. It's been their Achilles heel for a long time. 9-1. Maybe they sneak in the 4-hole there, Brian, but I love it. Carolina to win the Central at 4-1. Yes, yes, yes.
I'm going to let you go first.
That's 4 times.
There you go. The East, I will let you go first. I think by a mile, it's the toughest division in the league.
Oh, the East is fantastic. These guys are going to murder each other. Even like the Devils and Sabres at the bottom are going to win some games. Boston at plus 250. You know what? Everyone's like, oh, the raging, long at the tooth. They always find a way, and the guys that they have on their team are true professionals. You can't count them out. But I will say this, the Philadelphia Flyers to win the division at plus 450. Yes, I'm buying in. Pittsburgh, I don't think is deep enough. The Washington Capitals, I don't really like what they're doing. Maybe I'm taking them too lightly. I love the way the Islanders play under Barry Trotz. The Rangers have great young talent. They're close, but they're not going to get there. So I'm going to say the Philadelphia Flyers, Brian, at plus 450 would be my bet to win the East. I love Carter Hart. They got guys coming off injuries as well. Their veterans have been playing better. They're inspired. The Flyers can play a tough game. They could score. They could play defensive. They can do a lot of things, and Carter Hart steals games. Give me the Philadelphia Flyers at plus 450.
I'm with you. It's amazing. I like the Flyers. The Caps, the Bruins, the Penguins. The Bruins don't wow you. They just win games. Losing Krug doesn't help, and Shara. But, you know, listen, McAvoy's a good young guy, and organizationally, they're good. Washington, Pittsburgh getting long in the tooth. Pittsburgh, to me, is dicey. The Rangers are going the right way. Islanders are a nice team. I'm going to take a shot here, Cam. I think Lindy Ruff will do some work with the Devils. Those games when they play the Rangers and the Islanders, you know, give them sticks and knives and get it over with. You know, they're going to be sending messages for down the road. But I'm going to call my shot here. And in full disclosure, and everybody knows that's listened to this thing, I think the Sabres, I think they can make the top 4. I really do. And I'll tell you, it's one of those things. The Bills won their first playoff game since Moses wore short pants. And it's one of those things where the Sabres desperately want to feel that. And I look at the additions they made. You got Eichel, Hall, the Tage Thompson kid's actually playing on the first line, and he could have a breakout year. But you bring Cousins, and Quinn made the team. I can't believe it. But Cousins from the World Juniors coming in with Eric Stahl on the second line. Olsen, who would have scored 30 last year as a rookie's on the second line. Jeff Skinner's got to get his head out of his backside.
Skinner!
But he's on the fourth line, Cam. He's a former 40-goal scorer. I'm telling you, the totals, the first game is Washington-Buffalo, the total 6. Let me tell you something. It ain't going to take more than a week and a half. The totals on Sabres games should be 6.5. They're going to score a ton of goals. I mean, seriously, they are going to score a ton of goals. Eichel's going to go bananas this year. Ullmark and Hutton are the goalies. That's the question mark. The other guy that's going to produce a boatload of points with the more talent on the forward line, watch out for the points that Dahlin racks up.
Yeah, I agree with that.
In his third year. Now,
doesn't your goaltender, isn't he blind in one eye, though?
Nah, but he fixed it. They got him. He had an eye transplant.
Sorry, LASIK.
The funny thing is, the Sabres
coming around the corner.
Last year, Hutton lost 11 games in a row, and then it came out he had vision problems.
Yeah,
minor detail for a goalie. But once they fixed that, he won 4 in a row. And Ullmark, by the way, was like the third best goalie in save percentage before he got hurt. I think Ullmark's not anywhere. I think Ullmark can play a little bit. That's the big question mark. But I'm just telling the nature of their games, Cam, it's track meet city. So I'm telling you, they start with the Caps at the total 6. I'll tell you by 2 weeks from now when we do this, Sabres totals are 6.5.
No, I agree with that. I think Buffalo, and that's the thing, I think they're going to give up goals. They're going to score a lot of goals. They got the same kind of tendencies as the Leafs. And you talked about Skinner. This guy on 5-on-5 scoring is like a top 5 player. People don't realize that. He's on the fourth line. He needs to be better, though, because his days in Carolina, this guy was one of the best players in the league. Buffalo is actually kind of a sleeper. You're right. If they get any type of goaltending, I don't think they're going to win the division. But, yeah, like obviously sneaking into the playoffs in the 4-hole, it's possible.
I watched their scrimmages, Cam. Wait do you see Eichel and Hall together? It's ridiculous. I mean, it's pretty good. All right, let's go to the North. First of all, the North. Why don't you just call it the Canadian division and get it over with? All right. I like Edmonton, Cam. I really do. I mean, you're giving me a starting point of McDavid and Draisaitl hopping on the ice every night. The problem is, McDavid, defensively, he's got to get better. As great as he is. But there's something telling me Edmonton, because, again, I think everybody loves Toronto. I just think Toronto, everybody is going to be just circling Toronto. They're going to be getting everybody's best shot every night.
Here's the thing. Toronto's a good team, and, maybe Jumbo Joe's not done, and I think the young guys will help him. Does he got one more kick at the can? But the Leafs still have major problems. Their back end's horrible, and their goaltending's inconsistent. I look at this, too. To me, I think it's you know what? I don't want to be back. I sound like Morency giving me the chicken call when I'm teasing games. I would do 2 bets. I would do 2 bets.
I know you love the Habs. I love the Habs. But
that's what I'm saying. I'm going, if you give me the Oilers at plus 460 and Montreal's at plus 460, if one of them wins, you win money. And I am a Leaf fan, but I'm also realistic. I'm not like delusional Leaf fan who thinks these guys are like the second coming of God. They got a lot of issues. I hope they do better, and I hope their players actually play a tough game. I'm sick and tired of the way they float. They play shinny hockey. It pisses me off. The Edmonton Oilers and Montreal Canadiens at plus 460. You slice it down the middle. One of those teams wins the division. Sign me up.
I'm with you, and I will tell you this. I cannot talk to us in 2 years. I hope we're still doing this thing. The hockeybettingpodcast.ca, it turned into Barstool Sports, but I'm telling you.
I'd like to turn it into, my water bill, but sure, Barstool Sports sounds good.
But, hey, you shoot high, aim small, miss small. But I'm telling you, talk to me in 2 years. The Ottawa Senators, man, this Stutzler kid's a stud. The prospects they got, they're going to ruin a lot of people's nights this year. I think they're in the hunt for a while, but Ottawa, watch out, man. Watch out in 2 years.
The thing about Ottawa is they're going to be one of those teams, Brian, when teams are on like the back end and they have to deal with Ottawa and take a night off, and we're going to get a juicy plus 260, and they're going to win a game like 5-2. That's the thing we're going to do with Ottawa this year. We got to keep an eye on them. I agree. In 2 to 3 years, I think these guys are going to be contenders. They have great young talent on their team. And you know what? In hockey, you get a lot of those upsets. That's why it's a great sport to bet, right? It's just you don't show up. You get, you as you say, boat raced. You get absolutely slapped up. And Ottawa can do that with the amount of, like, they have got a lot of guys with work ethic. They got talent. It's just going to take them a couple of years to grow. But at 48-1 in the division, they're not winning. But I'll tell you, in a couple of years, that number is going to go from 48 to like 5 or 6 to 1. That's for sure.
All right. If we arguably, it sounds like we're in agreement on some stuff here. If we like Toronto, Edmonton, and Montreal, who is the team we're not putting in the hopper here?
Jets.
Calgary, Winnipeg, Vancouver. Those three, which one makes it?
Which one makes it? I think Vancouver. I think Vancouver squeaks in. It's tough. Between Vancouver and Calgary, I have a lean to Vancouver. I like what they did last year. I like their young players. I think they got good team chemistry. Green's done a great job with these guys, actually, too. The Jets, even though they have Hellebuck, I just don't trust them. The back end, Brian.
The defense is terrible.
It is, and they've never gotten the guys back that they needed to. Calgary has good players, but they're too. And you know what? Their goaltending's too inconsistent. I got to go with Vancouver.
I mean, Vegas just put Nick Holden on waivers, right? Mm-hmm. And he cleared waivers, and he's back. I think, what the hell's Winnipeg doing?
That's a great point.
Why wouldn't Winnipeg claim a guy like Nick Holden? I mean,
Holden's all right.
He's a solid, third pair defenseman. On Winnipeg, he'd be the face of the franchise.
Face of the franchise, but he'd be in the top 4 defensive pairings. I don't know what these guys are doing either, because they still have talent. Like, you look at up and down their roster with Wheeler and Laine and all these other guys that they have. Like, that's the thing. Connor, like, they're good. Like, they have good snipers on their team. But then you look at their defense and go, pfft, like, Hellebuck's a good goalie too. Like, what are you doing? Go out and get a couple defensemen. You become contenders. I don't know what Winnipeg's up to, but I can't. I think Vancouver squeaks in. It's really tough. You got Edmonton, Montreal, Toronto. Give me Vancouver. Who's your fourth?
I'm picturing
Calgary?
I'm picturing Connor Hellebuck at IHOP, eating breakfast in the morning, and the guy, he's sitting there twitching. I mean, this kid's facing so much rubber. He's like making saves, eating breakfast.
He works at the Trojan factory. I know. I'm with you. If I saw that guy in IHOP, I'll tell you, I watch a lot of serial killer shows. Connor Hellebuck, like the way that guy, he just can burn a hole through me. I'll look over at this guy. Next thing you know, I got lasers going through my skull. Yeah, that guy, like he's got the Serioso look. That serial killer look.
I know you did it.
That's what they say about goalies, right, Brian? I work with Gabe. They're either insane or the quietest guys in the room. I don't know about Hellebuck. He's quiet, but damn, he's scary. Like, if they had a pitcher for, like, most wanted, I think he's out there. He
I
looks
know
like
when you were doing the road to the Cup the one year, and the first year the Golden Knights played the Jets in the playoffs, and I'm in the Jets room, and you're right. I mean, I'm interviewing this guy, and I got the microphone, like, extended as far. I'm like leaning backwards. I'm like, yeah. It's like, honestly, I mean, it's like a horror show.
Oh yeah, no. If looks could kill, Hellebuck's a murderer. Like, he's got that, like, scary goaltending, like, I'm crazy kind of look, and he's a great tender. But I don't really like what the Jets brass have done. Like, you had to get better on defense. Like, you know what the problem is. It's not that difficult. I know it's hard to get some defensemen, but you even need depth. Like, because that's the thing. If they have any type of defensive injuries, it's just going to be a train wreck again. They're a good team, but I'm going to have to pass.
And I honest to God, man, I don't know what to do, with Calgary. Maybe Markstrom makes a difference. In Vancouver, the other side of this, okay, you got Holtby there. One of those, that's a move that had you tailor-made getting ready for Seattle. But, Demko caught a Tootsie Roll in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
But is he the guy? And Holtby, maybe it's like, you got Holtby and a Matt Murray in Ottawa. Maybe change the scenery does something for these guys. I don't know.
Yeah, no, we'll see. We'll see. But it's very tough, Brian. Like, I just look, it's like, what team's going to miss? You tell me top 4, I'm going to go Leafs, Oilers, Canadians, and Canucks.
All right, finally, let's go to the Pacific Division. Honestly, Cam, technically I could see maybe some regression, from St. Louis, losing Pietrangelo, but they get Krug. But to me, I mean, in your sleep, it should be you pick the order. I like Colorado to win the Cup, so I'll say Colorado. But, I mean, it's Colorado, Vegas, St. Louis, the top three, and who rounds it out?
I don't even know. I'm not sure if St. Louis is going to be in the 3-hole, maybe the 4-hole. I'm going to go with Arizona. I've been waiting for them to get better all the time. I know they're a little bit flaky. Doan's there now. I think they're going to be better, Brian, but it's tough. The Minnesota Wild, you can never really count them out. They grind, but I'd have to go with Arizona. Actually, I like the way that division stacks up. I don't think Anaheim can do it. San Jose and LA. LA is going to be better. I think we can bet on them a little bit this year, but no, I think that's Colorado wins the division. I got Colorado going to the Stanley Cup final too. Plus 140. It's actually not even a bad price. It's between them and Vegas, and I think Vegas has problems. So give me Colorado plus 140.
Okay, yeah. Oh, no, I think Colorado wins a cup if they stay healthy. Now, I think San Jose can bounce back a little bit. I don't. Well, I know they're a dog's breakfast, but the Anaheim or Arizona, the organization's a train wreck, and then they got rid of some good guys up front. I don't know. Oh, by the way, I got bad news.
Yeah.
You're never getting the $50 Evander Kane owes you.
Does he owe me 50? Does he owe me 50 at 100? No, dude, I can't believe this guy had like a contract for over 50. Where's the money going? Like, you think I got a gambling? What's going on here? Has he got a gambling problem? I don't want to say anything. I got my own problems, but man, how do you blow that kind of money? Like,
he may opt out. You know, it might be.
No, he's got to play. Doesn't he got to make money?
Well, no, if he opts out, I mean, a lot of the money he owes is tied into his contract.
Yeah, it's a good point. But
if he finds, I mean, we're making cracking jokes, but in all seriousness, if he files bankruptcy, which I think he did, if he files bankruptcy and he doesn't play, that's all she wrote. You know, he may opt out.
He could. I just like, it's amazing to me, like, how I don't know how you spend money like that. Like, and the guys had good contracts, Brian. You know, like when he played, like, with the Jets and Sabres, like the guy made money. He made money.
$27 million he owed for loans and gambling.
I'd say, what is he, Larry King? Is he like have 7 wives? But he doesn't. That's the thing.
I mean, if only he had Bitcoin.
That's crazy though. Like, I owe people money, but just millions. Holy jeez! Like,
all right out of the gate.
Okay.
Well, by the time we turn this around, these games will be. Let's talk about the Thursday games.
Okay, cool.
I mean, tonight, right out of the gate, you got to love it. Pittsburgh, Philly, Montreal, Toronto. I mean, bitter rivals. I mean, right out of the gate. And, let's play back-to-back. I mean, this is going to be awesome.
Listen, as a Leaf fan, I think, like, you know what I mean? You're right. I don't know what time the thing's going to air, but before puck drop, Montreal plus 120 looks good to me. And I think the Colorado Avalanche at the price has gone up to 50 cents. You're pretty good with the totals. What totals do you like? Leafs and Canadians at 6.5 over the number? Every time they get together, it's over.
I think that game could be 3-3 after 1.
It could be. Yeah. No, I agree. That I think Colorado gets it done. They're going to be a team that's angry. What about Vancouver, Edmonton? Maybe the over there too? Should be a lot of goals in that game.
Well, I wonder.
Or Chicago, Tampa Bay. I bet if you bet totals in every game, I got a feeling more of them go over than under tonight.
Well, the interesting thing too, don't forget the over 1.5s in the first period.
Yeah, good call.
Definitely do Montreal, Toronto. I think Chicago. I mean, Chicago. I would think the goaltending sketchy at best. But you still have Kane out there going bonkers. And
Thursday, Brian, your Sabres are a live dog to me. Opening up against Washington, like they'll be fired up if they can play 3 periods of hockey plus 115 for the Buffalo Sabres. I like the over.
I like the Sabres and the over in that game, and I think they're just chewing on nails. And don't sleep on them getting Eric Stahl and Taylor Hall. I think there's a sense of purpose and belief there. And by the way, Cam, if you wanted a little historical thing, the last 2 years, who started every season the last 2 years faster than anybody?
Buffalo. Then as you say, they puke all over.
And then now they get sponsors on the helmet. I mean, in week 12 or after 12, 15 games, they get Thelma and Louise on the helmet.
Yeah, barfbag.com. But anyway, but before that, they're like smooth vodka, not like the stuff, they're like a name brand, not like that fire water you gave me made of lighter fluid. Ricola.
Hey, give me a Kamchatka, McCormick's. Pop off.
I'm like, wow, it's a gallon of vodka for $8.95. What a deal!
Wait a minute. It was buy one get one free.
That's the best. Go to Blessings for breakfast. A gallon of vodka. Hey, Rhonda, you got some eggs to go with the vodka? Maybe a little orange juice. Yeah, we'll have some screwdrivers and eggs before we hit the OTB. What a day! Betting with Blessing.
Yeah, you're right. You had sunny side up and you thought they were scrambled.
Exactly. That was an interesting day.
What do we else?
Who else you like that day? What are you thinking? Any opinion? Winnipeg, Calgary. That's a tough game. Kind of lean Calgary in that spot. Tough.
How about Anaheim? A monster dog at Vegas. I think these teams, you can make the case. And some of them will. But you can make the case that, these teams that missed the playoffs, they've been away for so long. But, to me, they're hockey players, man. These guys are dying to play. I think that seven that missed the playoffs are going to be so hungry out of the gate, and they're going to be big dogs in all these games. I bet you 4 of the 7 win their first game.
You know what? You're right. If you played the blindly bet dog strategy, I think
you make money.
Good. But my favorite, I like Buffalo to the over there. And you know who else looks good to me, Brian? In the late game, I think the Kings at even money against the Wild look pretty good too. And
don't forget last year, the Kings or the Wild there for a while. Boy, we were printing money with them. Remember, they were an over team, a surprising over team.
Yeah, no, at 5.5, we might have to look at the over. That's true. Everyone thinks it's the Minnesota Wild play defense. No, they actually they can score some goals and give up goals. I agree. That total might be low.
All right, and let me just say, generally speaking, we'll put a lid on this bad boy. Who's ahead of the curve here? The goalies have the edge, or the shooters out of the gate? I
think shooters.
See, I'm with
that's
you.
Tough.
I know there are no.
Like,
I know
what
there
about
are
goalies?
people.
Like goalie, it's a tough position, man. Like if you're in shape and ready to go, like sure, but man, it's tough.
Yeah,
goaltending takes a while to get into the groove, doesn't it?
Honestly, I know some people say, "Oh, the goalies are going to be ahead of the curve," and I'm like,
no,
yeah, but right now, all they're facing are drills and wrist shots from the top of the circle.
Agree.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, when you have, you're going to have guys crashing the net.
Yes.
And I kind of like the offense over the goalies, to be honest with you.
I agree with you 100%. I think that's why we're talking overs, and I think the books are smart to be posting 6s and 6.5s because I think we're going to have a lot of like 5-3, 4-3 type games. You know what I mean? I don't see these like 2-1 games out of the gate. I think there's going to be more overs than unders. I'm with you.
All right. So we're back. We invite you to go to the hockeybettingpodcast.ca. I'll say that again. It's a lot of letters there, Cam.
Mm-hmm.
The Hockey Betting Podcast.ca. All right. And, you get the online books that are there, and we tell you sign up, and they've got nice, attractive deals for you with match bonuses and things when you sign up. And I say this, in all sincerity, and I say this out here, in Vegas, that like if you're coming in from out of town and you're coming in for a 4-day weekend, I tell anybody to listen, come into town, get a couple of apps or phone apps. If you live here, you're nuts not to have 3 or 4 apps because you literally, not having to go anywhere, can shop and get the best number. And it adds up and makes a difference. So I honestly, with conviction, I would say, if you had a couple of if you're going to play hockey, get a couple of accounts, and then you shop back and forth, and you might find a 5.5 instead of a 6, or plus $1.60 instead of plus $1.50. But it adds up.
I equate it to meat shopping, Brian. When I get the rib cap roast at $5.99 a pound instead of $8.99 a pound, I got to smile from ear to ear. You know what I mean? Who doesn't want to save some money? That's the way I look at it. We're going to be betting this thing throughout the year. By the way, what do you got? Count Dracula's house? I hear like an organ in the background. I guess you're fired up for hockey. I don't know what the hell's going on. I got some creepy sounds. Maybe that's from Mike's place. Creepy.
No, it's a landscaper. He's
making some weird noise, man. It doesn't sound like a lawnmower. It sounds more like a bad organ or something.
Well, it's a landscaper or Freddy Krueger.
It's a parlay of both. An Exacta box.
All right, but we're back. We're out of the gate. This is going to be good. And by the way, what did you call it? A rib cap roast?
Yeah, rib cap. Like, when you go to when you go to a steakhouse and you get like a tomahawk cut, that's the rib cap. That's the best one. The marbling of the fat, like that's the money steak, Brian. I'm not talking about blade steak, the stuff you got to marinate for 3 weeks. I'm talking about the nice, juicy bad boy, the one that Fred Flintstone puts on his car and turns it over. Rib cap.
That's not something that was running in the fifth at Western Fair 3 weeks ago. Buddy, hockey. Yes. We're back.
Hockey. Yep. Good times, Brian. Let's make some money. Let's have some fun.
Let's get back to normal. I'm going to get your sorry butt out here. I miss seeing you. I love talking to you.
You like seeing me for a few hours, and it's like, get the hell. When's the city leaving town?
You know what? I mean, honest to God, truer words have never been spoken. And pick Cam and Lisa up at the airport, and we're talking, and we're halfway to the hotel, and I look at him and go, "When are you leaving?"
Exactly. Me and my girlfriend parlayed. That's a lot of vodka, right, Brian? It's flammable.
All right, kiddo. Listen, thank you.
Buddy.
This is great fun. Thanks for joining us on the Hockey Betting Podcast. We're back, and so is hockey. Hey, folks, this is Brian Blessing. Hope you're enjoying the Hockey Betting Podcast. We have a couple chuckles, try to get you a lot of winners. Hey, we hope you like what you're hearing, and if you do, hit the subscribe button and give us a review, give us a rating. Most importantly, enjoy the hockey and keep coming back to the Hockey Betting Podcast.
The handicapping and sports odds information contained on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm the wagering regulations in your jurisdiction as they vary from state to state, province to province, and country to country. Using this information to contravene any law or statute is prohibited. The podcast is not associated with, nor is it endorsed by any professional or collegiate league, association, or team. This podcast does not target and is not intended for an audience under the age of 18. If you think that you have a gambling addiction, stop this podcast now and please seek help.
Gambling and betting on sports is a form of entertainment and should be about having a good time. But when done excessively, it may negatively affect other areas of a person's life, such as their physical and mental health, school or work performance, finances, and or interpersonal relationships. At the Hockey Betting Podcast, we're concerned about the addiction that gambling may cause, and for this reason, we encourage everyone to practice responsible gambling, an approach to gambling that helps you ensure that it remains an enjoyable activity. Here are the main principles of responsible gambling. Don't think of gambling as a way to make money. Always gamble with money that you can afford to lose. Set limits and stick to them. Never chase losses. Don't gamble when you're depressed or upset, and create a healthy balance. Always be aware of how much time you spend gambling or thinking about gambling, and do not allow gambling to cause you to miss out on time with family and friends or time spent on other activities you enjoy. By following these guidelines, gambling can be a good time and great entertainment. If you feel at any time that your gambling is taking away from important areas of your life, is causing you stress or depression, or is leading to financial losses that are beyond your control, please reach out for help. Learn more at responsiblegambling.org.